Welcome to the What If podcast with your hosts, Spencer Worth Davis and Ryan Copperrood.
What the heck is going on?
Hey, put your microphone by your face.
Oh, is this happening?
Yeah.
Maybe we should talk about it on the podcast.
Hey, what's up,
Hey, Ryan, are we recording? Did we hit the red button this time?
I don't know.
Hey, everybody, what's up? I don't do crack.
I don't know how that thing works.
Gentlemen, we spent some time at the Mile High Mystery Conference
Are we
today.
really starting right now?
Yeah, absolutely. We are, Chance.
No, we started like that.
Palo Santo's not even lit.
Well,
I don't even know what that means.
It's a aromatic herb.
It's called Palo Santos.
Palo Santo means the holy branch.
Just
Where did we acquire Palo Santo?
from the rock shop.
You guys need to put your microphones to your face.
Should we talk about the Crystal Shop before we talk about the Mile High Mysteries Conference? Because I feel like the Crystal Shop may have been the tightest thing that we've done in the last 36 hours.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you get, Chance? What'd you get?
Picked up a little thing for the ladies.
Yeah.
You got some agates?
Yeah, I got agate slices.
Yeah.
I got a nice little. Wait, when does this air? Because this is top secret.
Tuesday.
Do
your kids listen to our podcast?
I don't think your daughters are going to
shouldn't.
listen to our show, my guy.
If I'm listening to it and they're with me, anyways, check it out. I got a few gifts from my significant daughters.
Yes.
And other.
Not the insignificant daughters. All those other ones you got.
So, anyways.
No, that's good. They're beautiful agates. Dan, what'd you get? What'd you get from the Crystal Shop?
I got some slices.
You're not Dan.
I got
Oh,
some
hello,
chips.
Dan. How's it going over there, Daniel?
I got some chips. I got some fine artisan crafts. And a little something for myself.
That's what's
Is that
up,
a baby?
That's what's up.
You got to treat yourself.
Dan, what'd you pull today?
I got a couple pyramids from the rock shop.
Yeah, you did.
A couple questionable iced coffees.
Yeah.
Not the same shop.
The second one was questionable too?
No, actually, I take it back.
The first one was confirmed trash.
One was trash. One was like high mid grade.
Okay.
Hey, but you can't put your coffee on the Crystal Shop. Separate entities, bro.
I mean,
I don't think
that's
he
all
was.
I got at the Crystal Shop, and then I got some other shit, a couple of bad coffees or whatever.
Yeah, I'm
Let's
just saying.
keep it moving. Though.
You got dope crystals.
I do. One is a quartz pyramid, and the other one I don't remember what it is, but it's another pyramid, and it's
I also got a
shiny
tiger
and
eye pyramid.
metal looking.
Yeah,
Tiger Eye is the coolest.
dude. I love it.
This rose quartz globe is really making me feel really good about life.
Big shout out to the Crystal Shop.
It's so
Big shout out.
smooth. It's just it fits in your hand really nicely. It's perfect.
Spencer's got like a light pink crystal globe,
It's rose quartz.
rose quartz.
That's the one.
You're gonna be holding it in your. I'm gonna
For
walk
the rest
into
of my life. Oh shit! Chance.
I'm gonna walk into this. Hey, careful with my tiger eye, bro.
This is a pyramid. I can't break it.
True.
I don't think that's a rule.
It's actually a
This glass
scientific
coffee table
rule.
is not a pyramid, however.
Ooh.
Dan, put your mic by your face, please.
Hello.
Thank you. That's
Hello.
much better.
That would end this episode very quickly if we drop a sizable crystal through the glass coffee table.
So
We wouldn't
on
stop.
either side of the crystal shops today, we hit the Mile High Mystery Conference for
Boy, do
some
we
weird
ever.
shit.
And we have y'all to thank.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Thanks for sending us on our Magic School Bus
Our
field trip.
first official What If field trip, I think.
Well, Area 51 was definitely our first official What If field trip.
Well,
I
when you
think.
put it like that.
Second one, you mean?
But this is number two.
Yeah.
Number two.
So we started out this morning bright and early with Linda Moulton Howe.
We did. Well, let's set the scene really quick. We're in
Go
Green
ahead.
Mountain Falls, Colorado.
True.
Which is at roughly 7,500 or so feet in elevation.
I mean, no one.
We're gonna have to just go with that.
Okay,
right there.
I think
If you want to prove us wrong, go for it. We're guessing here.
that estimate is relatively close. I think based on road signs we've seen. We drove up a wavy road. We're staying at a cabinish house-ish location up
a
in the
lovely
woods.
Airbnb.
Shout out
lovely
Canna
Airbnb.
Bliss, I
Canna
believe
Bliss?
it's called. There's a lot of literature on herbs, and
They
art.
really like marijuana out here. It turns out.
It's a weed themed Airbnb.
That is actually true, which for the record is not why we selected it.
Shout out weed tourism.
Kind of dorky. To be honest, I mean, I've been smoking weed for like 20 years. Like, that's like
weed culture is pretty lame,
cool,
honestly.
man.
It's like, oh,
Yeah,
cool, they got Elton John records.
Yo, I played an Elton
I guess
John
on the
pinball
other
game
hand,
today,
it's
though.
like it's better than having to worry about like, oh, is it cool to smoke here and like worry about it. So
Sure.
that's
They
chill.
have,
It's
they
kind of
have
dorky,
grinders
but that's cool.
No parents.
and joint rollers in
They
the
got
coffee
grinder
table.
out here?
It's in the
Two,
coffee
look at
table
there's
right
two
now.
of them.
Oh, shit.
That's not even a bad grinder.
I'm
right there.
I'm curious to know more about the sentence Spencer just said, which is that when we were in downtown Manitou Springs today, we hit up an arcade, and you just said you played an Elton John pinball game.
Oh, yeah, I played 3 games. I played Ms. Pac-Man and
Yeah,
set
you
a
did.
personal high score on Ms. Pac-Man with 67,000.
Yes.
Pretty proud about that.
PHS,
Maybe after we do Can Spencer dunk,
personal high score.
That's the one.
maybe we should also do like a Can listeners beat your Miss Pac-Man score, and you got to take a picture of your own.
67,000.
Let's do this.
Show me what you got.
Hi at whatifpodcast.com.
I played some Papa Shot.
We
Trip
needed to
Daddy
do
played
a
some Papa Shot.
Trip Daddy is Spencer's new name.
Yes.
And then I played an Elton John pinball game, which was total trash.
Sad.
It's Captain Fantastic, the pinball game, and it didn't really work out.
I
It
would
was
have
too
had
old.
higher
The
expectations.
flippers
of that.
were really like flaccid, and they didn't really move the ball very well.
Okay. Okay.
It was not great.
Valid criticism.
You did it for the experience.
Flaccid
That
flippers can't
arcade
have it.
was pretty cool though. It was like a series of like little indoor and outdoor parts and like
Yeah, it
a
was
bunch of like
humongous.
really
Several
really old
buildings.
vintage
Several
video
buildings.
games.
Several buildings and some open air arcade stuff.
Dude, they had F-Zero. I don't know what else you could ever need.
That's
We played that with the horses racing. You roll the. It's like kind of
mini
skee ball.
skee ball.
Yeah, you roll the horse. You roll the
Can
ball.
you bet on it?
No, we should
But you can win a novelty cup.
There was novelty
That's
plastic
almost
cups
the
at
same as
arcade.
betting on the horses.
And there was a kind of
I mean,
a
you
commentator
could, I
guy.
guess.
Or there was like
They may
Yeah,
kick
true.
you
that was
out,
the only
but-
employee I saw at that whole arcade. Was the
Somebody
guy.
was calling the races.
Yeah, that guy. He's
Good.
the only guy.
So anyway, Linda Moulton Howe.
Yeah. So anyway, in Green Mountain Falls at 7,500 feet, we drove to the Susan B. Anthony Murder House, which is the community
It's called
called
the Sally Bush Community Center.
Correct.
Damn it.
It's called the
We're
Betty
still having
Ford
this
Elementary
The
for the
Betty
drunk
Ford
kindergartners.
Betty Ford Elementary for the drunks.
for drunk children. School for drunk children.
Listen,
and
we
it
don't
was a
listen.
big.
Listen, we don't encourage childhood alcoholism.
Yeah, I guess we need to say that.
If your kindergartner
Yes,
drinks
if you guys
another
don't
beer,
know. If you don't understand sarcasm.
The Sally Bush Community Center was a large wood paneled 1-room building nestled in this little town in the mountains, and we
It was
were
lovely.
here.
It was similar to like a community church vibe.
yeah,
Yeah, it was a community center.
it's very nice. When I walked in, the first thing I heard was Linda Moulton Howe on stage talking about Bigfoot wearing a blue jumpsuit.
Nah, no.
Did you guys catch that?
I caught the.
I was right
caught
behind
the,
you, and I did not catch that.
No, I caught the entire story that she got into later, which we might discuss about. First, the one small man coming down in a form-fitting blue sparkly leotard, and another small, like humanoid coming down, and then Bigfoot getting beamed down from a UFO. But I didn't know if Bigfoot was wearing the sparkly blue.
She said it was a form-fitting blue jumpsuit.
Yeah, but that was on
Sounded
the
pretty hot,
companions.
honestly.
That was
I
on
think we
Bigfoot's
kinda
small
need to DJ
companions.
that party. There's a bunch of random beings coming down in sparkly
Dude,
suits.
I would DJ the Mile High Mystery Conference next year if they wanted me to.
I don't know. I feel like we're
Oh, yeah.
maybe
Not their
a little,
demographic.
little hipper on the music stuff.
Only one way to find out.
I'm sure we'll talk about some of our qualms as we proceed here, but
So
yeah,
Linda
go ahead.
Moulton Howe's whole thing was linking UFOs, Bigfoot encounters, and animal mutilations, implying that they're all part of like the same thing somehow.
Yes.
And was telling stories of several cases in Washington, specifically a guy that she called. Anybody remember the guy's name?
It was Steve.
It was a fake name for him.
Bismarck.
Steve Bismarck.
Steve Bismarck.
This was a pseudonym for.
I actually wrote it down. That's on my notes.
That's my new
Yeah.
producer name.
So Steve Bismarck apparently in what was the town in Washington?
Spokane?
No, that was Dave's stuff.
I didn't write it down either.
David Bismarck.
Scahomish or something.
David Bismarck was the guy.
David Bismarck. Okay.
Yeah.
So David Bismarck was out in the woods and he saw a bunch of black specks turn into a goat/lion/wolf that started attacking him. And whenever it would attack him, he would get shocked, like an electrical shock, and temporarily go blind.
I did hear that. That was right off the
And he
bat.
said that this thing appeared to be like a hologram, and when it would attack him, it would laugh at him like a hyena.
Yeah, I heard a cackling. He heard a cackling.
So
that
not
was,
only am I going to attack you, I'm going to roast you.
Correct.
It's a roast attack.
While he's being attacked by the interdimensional Bigfoot hologram goat lion wolf, he said, quote, "I heard a thud to my right and I turned and saw a Bigfoot. Bigfoot had been beamed down from a UFO that was now hovering above him."
Beamed down with a thud.
With
too.
a thud, not very gently.
That's gonna hurt. If you're beaming it down and it comes down like thud.
You got to put the beam in in the shop or something. I don't think that's normal.
You want to just take your time when you're beaming stuff down.
Right.
I think.
Well, I don't. Yeah, maybe it was an urgent
never done
Bigfoot
it.
situation.
I'm assuming
We don't
this is
know.
a lot of assumptions from my end.
There were also smaller, like little 4-foot aliens running around and being beamed up and down through what she called some kind of transparent air tube.
Yeah.
Which I imagine being like the things at the bank that you put your deposit in and it goes.
But it's
just
almost like
without-
you couldn't see it. It was like it was there, but you couldn't see it, and it was like there's also branches in the way. So
Right,
they got
they were
beamed
going
down.
straight
It
through
came
'em.
through the
Straight through 'em.
branches,
They don't give a
which
fuck
is
about
all
branches.
shit was all tight. I really liked all those stories. I was just I felt like a lot of maybe what I would classify as pop culture, paranormal activity being kind of just like thrown it into the same story from
Not to
the
get
account of
immediately-
one person, you know?
Not to immediately get into qualms, but I will say, like, you've already covered like contact and Bigfoot and teleportation and aliens and
holograms
UFOs and
and stuff.
holograms in one story. And this one story, like Linda Moulton Howe spent probably the first 30 minutes of her presentation maybe on retelling this one story from like the late 70s of this David Bismarck character.
That wasn't his real name. Admittedly,
it was not his real name.
He didn't want to
But
tell
this,
his real name.
but this
Right.
person's retelling of this story to her directly, she was basically just regurgitating this person's recount, complete with scanned crayon drawings of what this
illustrations
dude
were pretty
had
great.
Which was
seen.
tight. Yeah, I liked all that. I liked all that.
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine with people drawing their experience. I just feel like it was a significant amount of time to dedicate to a single person's
Account.
firsthand account.
It was a pretty wild story.
and
It was a wild story.
And the hypnotism video also was pretty much the same thing. It's like, this is old.
Well,
this
hang
is
on,
one
hang
person's
on.
account.
Hang on.
And it's whatever. But let's get back to what we liked about it, which we found compelling about her presentation.
Or at least what else happened.
Well, yeah, hang on. I'll say we'll get to that part. Keep going because I know you're about to finish this.
Oh, well, the story, I honestly had a hard time following it because she was talking about this David Bismarck story, but then started talking about the 8-foot tall albino Bigfoot carrying the orb.
But wasn't that that was a completely different
That's what I'm saying.
account.
I
That was
wasn't.
completely untied.
I had a hard time following for a
It was
while.
in
like,
Pennsylvania. It was all the way across the U.S.
Her presentation went from this David Bismarck story that linked UFO, Bigfoot, and aliens, two different types of aliens.
Yes.
To then she was talking about this 8-foot tall albino Bigfoot that was carrying some sort of orb.
Outside of Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
that
it was
acted-
like a pencil. I was like, wait a second, what?
This
Two
orb
different
acted
stories.
as a beacon to summon UFOs, and someone saw this albino 8-foot tall Bigfoot with an orb get beamed up to a UFO after calling it.
Mm-hmm.
Then she was suddenly talking about cats getting cut in half.
Yeah.
Pretty much same. Maybe it might have been in the same city or some sort of tie. There might have been a link.
Because I think
But-
she was trying to link the UFO and the Bigfoot and the alien sightings to sites where animal mutilations had
and
happened.
the animal
right?
mutilation piece was my favorite piece. The most compelling and chilling part was that
It-
for me.
Am I?
all
Was
I was
there
gonna
more of
say
a
is
link between these that I
no,
missed?
all I was gonna say is that was a hell of a lot to deal with.
It was
at like
man.
10 in the morning.
It totally was,
and like she was just going from topic to topic. And
I was
it's
gonna
like,
say-
damn, did you do coke or what the fuck?
I was gonna say this is how we started the event.
And so
We're talking about the
into
first
this-
half hour.
Yes.
yeah,
This story
she
was
came
like,
out
"Whoa,
right out of
we
the
are
gate
here."
at 10 a.m. with this stuff.
This
And-
mystery is a mile high. Goddamn.
It's a
So
good
I
thing for
think-
wake and bake.
I think what she was trying to say was that these things were being seen at or in the vicinity of cattle mutilation
Yes.
sites, and that they were somehow linked. But I don't know if she ever closed that loop in terms of saying like the UFOs and aliens and Bigfoot were responsible for it, or what the relationship, because I wrote down in my list of questions I wanted to answer or ask her that we obviously didn't get to. Like what is the relationship here? Because she mentioned two different types of aliens and Bigfoot and UFOs and cattle mutilations, but never like, are the Bigfoot doing the cattle mutilations?
Right.
Did you say the
Are
cat
they-
and the cattle mutilations?
And then
'Cause
she
they
was
were
also
about
talking about
25 years
cats.
apart. I think.
Right. She was also talking about cats that were being found cut in half.
Well,
And I had a hard time understanding how that was linked other than like,
Retaliation.
yeah, fuck,
so
dude.
after so
Yeah,
I wrote
that
all
was
this down
where
and
it
I
really went pear shaped when she like tried to like.
Well, hang
put it
on,
all-
Did something go pear shaped?
hang on for
The whole
for
day
chronology's
did, bro.
sake here to go back to the mutilation stuff really quick. She did try to make the transition to the mutilation things. And then and for those of you who know Linda Moulton Howe, that's where she got her start in a lot of the world of strange experiences, the paranormal, etc.
Yeah, she made a film in 1980 called A Strange Harvest.
Strange Harvest.
That
Yeah.
established, quote unquote, links between UFO sightings and cattle mutilations.
Big
Right.
up the hairstyle though, because when I saw the first piece of that, she had the exact same hairstyle that she
She's been
still
rocking it
got,
for-
and it's like it's bold and rich
It
and
works for
beautiful.
her, man.
She's got great hair.
Speaking of
her hair is bomb.
that part of the presentation, I thought that was kind of whack to just get like hired to speak somewhere and then just be like, I'm going to show you my video that came out a really long time ago, and then it's also not going to be hooked into the PA. It sounded like they had a microphone like going to
Yeah,
the
there
was some technical
speaker on the laptop.
everybody
like,
at least took note that there's like, we wish the sound was better. Like,
it
we're
was just-
sorry
that
about
was
the
a rough
technical
moment
difficulties.
for everyone. I feel like.
But overall, the whole
just feel like-
hypnotism, the whole hypnotism thing was so bad.
It was, and I just feel like it's like not
Well, let's-
a great look to play like your whole ass video as like a big chunk of your presentation.
It was
Yeah,
like it was
bang.
about 15 minutes,
It seemed like longer than that.
and it
Maybe
was a
that
movie
just
that
me.
came out
15 minutes is a
37 years
significant
ago.
amount.
Yes, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, just to clarify, she said, "Okay, I want to show you something," and press play on 15 minutes of her very first documentary on cattle mutilation
Strange
from
Harvest.
1981, A Strange Harvest. So we just were like, "Oh, right."
And she just walked off the stage and came
She
back in
did.
15
She went and
minutes.
sat down, and while they were trying to figure out the sound, and they just played her video, and we were like, "Oh, all right, that was 40 years ago, but okay, like we'll get down, I guess."
I had already seen the film, so I wasn't super interested in rewatching it in a room full of other people
Which you would
after
think,
paying money to be there.
right? Which you would think if people were
Fairly
there who were
significant money.
excited to see Linda Moulton Howe, they would be like, "Yeah, I'm familiar with your stuff."
See
The
Jay-Z
film that
and
you put out
Beyonce.
40 years
Just
ago.
be like, yeah, here's like a very important takeaway from it, just like
Sure.
2 minutes or something,
Sure.
and then
Yeah,
keep it moving.
It didn't seem
Anyways.
especially relevant to the rest of the stuff she was talking about. Honestly, it was
Right.
the
It was like, oh,
hypnosis
shit, I still got
scenes.
Can we
40
talk
minutes
about
on my set.
was anybody else chilled by the cattle mutilation stuff? And does anybody have any new information about researching how do you do a bloodless excision? She said, like, when they're just taking pieces and there's no blood, and like, can that be duplicated now? Because she was making it sound like they can't even technologically do that right now, and that piece was was sparking my interest. It's super
really
interesting
weird.
and scary and all that shit. And then it was the mutilated cats. And I was and she was saying like things that they're trying to do to prevent copycats or basically frauds, but didn't really touch on the difference that was separating what frauds were from real ones. And that would have been a question that I would have asked her is like, could you give us some examples of really good frauds that were shown and why was
why
it?
they were a
because
fraud.
because if it's this cauterized cut and whatever, it's like, well, I don't think it would bleed if it's cauterized. That's the idea. I feel like modern day surgery can probably do that with lasers. She was saying why it's not, because carbon dust would still be left all over everything. Tell me what a good hoax looks like,
right?
And tell me why all of these that you presented are not that.
Which she did. For the record, she presented a bunch of very specific cases, and I think
scary.
I actually said this.
Terrifying.
I think I said this at dinner. I don't know what episode it was. Somewhere in the 40s or 50s, we did an episode on cattle mutilation.
I don't remember.
And to this day, of all the stuff we talk about on this show, the cattle mutilation stuff to me is one of the best documented things with real photographs and eyewitness testimony and like true, I guess what I would call evidence. I mean, y'all know we're kind of skeptical on here, but like true evidence of there's some weird shit happening. Physical evidence that you can document. And it's one of the least explained ones. And she actually did a really good job of showing a lot of those photos, quoting a lot of those eyewitness people. So I'm kind of like,
and
I was
explained
real
her
back
system.
in
She explained her system. She's
of-
like, there's
of
got to be,
researching stuff.
and that's tight.
And I was kind of reeled back in by some of that. Like, okay, now we're getting back into the more journalistic sense of this stuff.
Yes, but most of what she was presenting was 40 years old.
True. A lot of the cases were
Commentary
still
from the
in
crowd.
oldest
And honestly,
DJ.
like, not her work. She's presenting stuff that other people researched 40 years ago.
Yes.
So why did I need to come here to hear it from you?
True.
Like, this information is readily available.
True.
That's why. Community.
But like, you or I could have presented that. You know what I'm saying?
But we're not her. We don't have
I
30
think they
years
should
in
try
the
to get
game of the
booked next year.
paranormal, you know?
Right. I just
She's a
wish
star
that, like,
in the game.
That's true.
I feel like with a lot of these conferences, people just have their speech and they go up and do it, and it doesn't change and it doesn't take into account new information. And like, we'll get into Paulides' stuff, but
Speaking of Paulides, what happened to you, Ryan, during the...
Oh, yeah. This was during Linda Moulton House presentation.
oh yeah, go ahead.
Hey, guys, I met David Paulides, and it sucked.
That was a pretty shit way to meet someone.
So here's what happened. We walked in, and like, we probably came in, 5 minutes after Linda Moulton House started? I mean,
Yeah.
we were 5 minutes late to the start of day one. And we sat in the back row because the back row was open. And we just, I don't know, we went up to a check-in table. We got our name tags and signed in, and we just sat down. And I had like a wide-angle lens on my cell phone, and I was like holding it up in the air, taking some photos because I wanted to.
It was on a selfie stick. Don't leave out that part of the,
Okay,
of the story.
I had it. Okay,
That's important information, right?
I had it on a selfie stick. I was raising
you.
up into the air to get a good angle. I defend my selfie stick choice. I will take no guff. I'll turn this car around, slap us all in.
We've already given too much time to the selfie stick.
So I'm taking photos with this, and I think I took like 3. I set it down. I raised it back up. I took 3 more, and I get a tap on my left shoulder, and it's David Paulides with his cop stash / goatee right in my face.
Hey,
and he
bro,
goes,
you're gonna disappear.
Unless you buy my David Paulides Pro Model beacon and gun.
no, and he leans down, and he goes,
My
leans down, and he
satellite
goes,
phone's already got a beacon.
Idiots.
Let him tell the story, please.
he leans down, and he goes, if you take another photo, you're going to be asked to leave. And I was like, okay.
Hi, Dave.
That's fair enough. Hey,
Nice to meet you, Mr. Paulides.
Hey,
Big
that's
fan.
direct. That's direct. That's cool. Like, I get it.
No, it's not cool at all because
I get it. You had a selfie
They don't have a
stick. I didn't even
security
know you
guard?
had a selfie stick.
If you
and
wouldn't
shit.
have had the selfie stick,
you
he wouldn't have
you
said
look
shit.
like you're really trying to like do too much. You're not just like, you know, when you got a selfie stick, it looks like you prepared to like get to be. I don't know.
So
I don't know
there
how to
was
put it.
no-
There's a degree of like professionality.
So there was no written word anywhere on the materials,
Well,
signing.
he had been sending you telepathic
No
messages.
selfie sticks.
No one said you can't take a photo here.
He sent you a lot of telepathic messages, but you just missed them.
Oh, sorry, Dave. But yeah, there's nothing saying no photography allowed. So I was like, okay, good to know. And I put it away because I was like, damn, I didn't know I was breaking a big fucking rule, Dave. And I think in a
very
little bit
secretive
when we
shit.
talk about our qualms, we will get into why we think that rule is kind of fucking trash. But that's how I met Dave.
Does anyone have anything else about Linda's session?
Yeah, we have a very important part of Linda's session, which is how it ended.
Yeah, that's right.
Remind me.
Because so you were saying she was trying to pull it all together, and what happened was at basically
She
minute
just sent it.
She
hour
fucking sent it, dude.
minute 70 is what I should say. She puts a photo on a screen of the galaxy and says it's a big world, and I'm gonna paraphrase here, but she basically proceeded to say that there are some aliens who are on our side as humans, and there are some aliens that visit us that are against us, and the aliens that are against us are trying to scare humanity by cutting our cats in half because they're crucial members of our families, and that's a disturbing thing for them to do, and that basically there's an intergalactic war for humans on Earth, and that those aliens seeded Earth 270 million years ago.
Correct.
And are responsible for all historical knowledge and imagination of centaurs, dragons,
No.
Dinosaurs.
It was dinosaurs, centaurs, and unicorns. Were created by aliens 270 million years
and didn't
ago.
she say, and anything that has worked its way into human mythology? I think that's the way
she said a lot of
She
things.
did. She did.
She said a
because
lot
I
of
think I
things.
thought dragons as well, and I know that sounds like I'm like maybe making this up, but that's legitimately how she ended her presentation.
She also said
Yes.
that the government was like their role, that they actually were like not telling people for their protection.
Yes.
in some way.
But
Yes.
but
Which is
for
a
her
different angle, I guess.
for her was to she said they should disclose, or like everybody should know what the government knows or whatever. And what I found comical was you couldn't even take a picture
right.
of the shit of just
I'm trying to share this information. Okay, so related to that, Chance, I was sitting there thinking while she was presenting, and then while some other people were presenting, if any of us really truly believed what she was saying, we wouldn't be there, right? Like if we really believed that there were two alien races that were warring for the future of humanity, and that we were engaged in some battle that involved cutting cats in half, and like our very lives were at stake, and this was as urgent as she was making it sound, we're just going to sit around the community center and chat about it?
yeah.
Like
Or
you can't
in a
even
bunker.
You can't even believe this,
Yeah.
right? The person presenting this can't possibly believe what she's saying.
And I was
Because if
thinking,
you did, this is not how you would react to it.
my when I was like, when she was saying it's retaliation, that's why they're cutting our cats in half, is to like get
Also,
us,
get
get us. And I said, like, hold the fuck up, like, hold on. If there's
how did point A turn to point B?
No,
This is fucked.
but I'm just saying, if there's a fucking force behind it all, manipulating current events to horrify us, like they're probably busier in Syria than fucking cutting our cats in half. Because if they're trying to fucking get humanity like terrified and sad about like what's going on, or
It's such a white person take too. Like
it's like they're cutting our cats in half.
What's the
It
most
must be
important
a sign of an intergalactic fucking battle. Like, what about war on Earth?
Like what's the
is
most
that-
important thing to human beings? Oh, cats probably.
Well, I mean,
They're
that's
gonna come spill
they're
their fucking
close
quinoa
members of our
next.
family.
Yeah, right.
Jesus Christ.
They're gonna go around tipping over containers of hummus.
And like and the thing about it too, we were talking about this a little bit outside of the building, like the thing that's so, I know we're roasting right now, the thing that's so frustrating for me about this stuff is, I know, your point's well taken that she was retelling a lot of stuff from like the 80s about the cattle mutilation stuff. But to me, the cattle mutilation phenomena is really interesting, and there's some really great journalistic work done on it. And then you proceed to invalidate anything you've told me by telling me that there's a tri-alien species war for humanity.
that that it's accurately 270 million years old.
Like, where would
and
any
there-
of this be coming from in a factual world? And how did you take the monstrous leap to be like, and also this is now true?
She
Like,
presented
what?
exactly zero evidence for any of it also.
Yeah.
Not a single shred of anything other than she just said it.
And now we're here. And you're like,
Yeah.
wait, no, the fuck we're not. Like, how do you think we got here?
Yeah.
And that was really
She didn't
frustrating
even present
to me.
a single example or photo or even a story of cats getting cut in half. She just started talking about there are thousands of cats getting cut in half.
There were hundreds
I wanna-
1 year in New York.
That was
she said.
that was
wanna-
one of the weirdest things I've ever heard anyone say. Is she just out of the blue was like, yeah, thousands of cats are being chopped in half.
Yeah, she said it was
and
a story
expected
in the
us
New
to
York
all
Times.
just accept it.
And well, no, it's just not in the news right now because they're trying to cover it up. I feel like I caught that was the vibe too. There's some sort of cover up going on.
How could you even make that shit up?
It seems so outlandish to me to
How
be.
and why? Yes.
It seems so outlandish to me to say to a room full of people like, I was a journalist and I went to Stanford and here's all my documentaries and my Emmys and all my work. And then
It was just a
centaurs. And you're like, wait, what?
200.
Why?
When somebody says 270 million years old,
I think it was 265 actually.
yeah,
Linda.
and I'm like, fam, where did that number come from? You can't just throw that one out there because, like, what
But you
was
can if you laid it out.
who wrote that date down and on what calendar is that?
I was told.
Is that geology or like what?
Yeah.
Like where did that one come from? If you're gonna be
I
specific,
don't think she knows, dude.
if you say 265 million, you're gonna have to at least prove to me that it wasn't 100 million, because those are like they're like those numbers are like imagination primarily.
For sure.
Like you can't fucking you can't use numbers if you're not planning on fucking supporting them.
Yes.
Well, apparently you can.
Yeah,
I gotta say-
but I'm not gonna be paying attention the same way.
I gotta say, there was a moment there that I was honestly slightly reminded of our Meltdown episode with Rob. Shout out Rob. Happy birthday, Rob. We're recording this on your birthday. When we talked about Tom DeLonge, and Tom has that story about how someone important somewhere high up at some government agency pulled
some
him into
shit.
a room and showed him some paperwork and was like, this is a real thing. And Linda Moulton Howe has a very similar story of like, well, part of the reason I know this is because at one point a retired DIA officer took me into a back room and showed me a bunch of case files. So I'm in the know. And I'm like,
Say DIA.
Yeah, what does that stand for, anyways?
Defense Intelligence Agency.
yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
And I was just, I don't know. Like, I can't fuck with that.
Yeah, no, of course not.
Can't fuck with
Well,
that.
I'm saying, and it's totally fine. I can't say it didn't happen, but that doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
do I say that I think it probably didn't happen, and that does matter? That I don't think I believe this. I feel like it's okay to be that way. It's like, no, am I saying you're lying? No. But am I saying it's really, really
Shit,
hard
I
for me
might
to
be.
believe you? Straight up.
If you're
think-
going to make a statement that wild, you have to at least present me with some evidence.
Yeah,
Even
it can't
if
just
it's not that good, at least try. Fuck.
Right. There was literally none.
You guys,
I think
was-
there's more support that, like, never mind.
You guys, I was up in the bathroom earlier, and actually, it was super weird. I opened the window to just get some of that Colorado air in, and Jesus actually flew in the window, and he told me that I'm next up. So
Yeah.
So real quick though, Ryan, on a more serious note,
Did he look like Sammy Davis Jr.?
It was Billy D. Williams actually.
It was Lou Gossett Jr.
Did we see a UFO last night, Ryan?
By the definition of the term, Spencer and I actually ended up seeing a UFO last night outside.
We saw a thing in the sky that we
Yes.
could not identify.
Could have been an unidentified orbiting object. That's a UFO.
That's the type of
And my
flying.
dumbass was in the house
not
for
quite
like
flight.
1 minute and missed it.
True.
So we were outside looking at the stars because we're kind of out of the town a bit, and it was real dark last night.
We're in the middle of nowhere.
But we're on a
And
mountain.
We are on a mountain.
We're closer to space.
True. Thank you, Chance.
And we are back home. Yes.
And we saw a very dim, what I assumed was a star at first, that then started moving horizontally across the sky pretty slowly, and like slower than what a satellite would do.
I would say significantly slower than what a satellite would
Yeah, it covered probably, I mean, if horizon to horizon is 180 degrees, it covered like 20 degrees of the sky over the course of a minute or two. It was pretty slow.
Maybe 3 minutes even.
And it was intermittently blinking, just like a white flash of light.
But the thing about it, so like Spencer and I, as dudes who have had our eyes up for a long time now, like we've seen, I mean,
Been seeing stuff.
have you seen hundreds of satellites in your lifetime?
I don't
You guys
know.
ever seen a
Probably.
Black Hawk helicopter?
And I've seen,
I think we did today.
I think we did today. And I've
Obviously,
seen
yeah.
obviously
That's right.
plenty of airplanes. And the thing that was weirdest about this to me was it didn't flash like a beacon flash on an airplane. It was like it went slowly from off to lit.
And it was not that frequent. It was like every 20 seconds or something.
Yeah, and then went from lit back to off.
It was pretty
And
weird.
then
And then eventually,
off to lit.
the rap
eventually
game.
I just couldn't see it anymore, but it hadn't like left our field of view.
Yeah, I don't know.
just
It
kinda
was weird.
dimmed out.
I'm not saying we saw an alien. I just like that was not
We
any
saw a weird
satellite
thing.
I've seen, and that's not an airplane I've ever seen. And I mean, who knows? We talked about we drove almost 2 hours to get to where we are outside of Denver, and there's the Air Force Academy's here, and there's a Air Force base here, and there's NORAD here.
This thing was
and there's-
really high, though.
It was really high. It was.
Well,
it
we
had
may
to
have been
really high.
too, but
Yeah, you're right. What was that?
My iPhone just turned on to talk to us.
Dude,
Maybe we
okay.
shouldn't talk about this anymore.
So a couple weird
Why did
things.
your- wait,
a
why
couple
did your
weird
phone
things
just
have
turn
been.
on?
Siri just said, "I am."
What?
Yeah,
Dude, so
Dude, that
to-
that gave me the ickies.
To be real,
What the fuck?
Chance, I don't think you were down here earlier, but real quick, in this corner we're sitting in the living room of this place that we're
Yes.
staying in. This corner from like where you are over to the sink behind you. I was in the kitchen earlier, and the coffee maker turned on by itself, and it requires like physically flipping a switch to turn it on. I was standing in the kitchen, and I started hearing it trying to like sputter and make coffee and send water through, but there wasn't any in there. And I had to walk over and turn the switch back off. That lamp behind you, none of us have turned on today. That just was on at some point. And now in the same corner, your phone just started talking to you in the middle of us having a conversation.
That shit was fucking weird. I swear
All
I
within
slept
the-
last night, by the way.
Dude, you are possessed
Dude,
as fuck.
I don't like this anymore.
Then
I
right
wanna go
now, you're
home.
possessed.
I want to go home.
I gotta
Bro,
pee.
you're the one that's astrally projecting, though. Aren't you
yeah,
like
man.
right above here? Where'd you
Yes,
sleep last
directly
night?
above you, bro.
Yes.
He's turning on the lights.
Okay, so we know
Shit
we're
is
here
getting-
for a reason,
shit
and
is
we
getting
know
strange.
we know we
Yeah,
believe in the
shit's getting real.
paranormal and the inexplicable. It's that simple. We're here for a reason.
Yeah. But I'm
It's been
still
odd
scared.
for sure, man.
That was
still
weird.
scared.
I've
Yeah,
experienced a
it could
couple
have just been
things in the last
Siri
24
though,
hours that I've.
Siri was like,
do
"I
you even
am."
have that set up on there though? And also, if
I don't
anything,
know
it
if
should
it just
like
turns on when we're talking.
you have to say "Hey Siri," and then even then it just like starts listening. It doesn't start responding to shit.
You're gonna have to listen back in the recording and see what we
I
said.
heard
That
it
may
to
have
see if we can
sounded
hear
like
it.
"Hey
We
Siri."
pick up an EVP.
When I looked at it, I saw it making like light and stuff, and I looked at it, and it was just like
Dude.
it was just saying the shit that we were saying, like typing
What
it.
the
you know?
fuck?
You guys, I gotta go home.
Yeah. So me and Ryan are gonna head back to Minnesota.
So
I'm driving our minivan. Did we
Yeah.
say that we
No,
rented a
but we've been
minivan?
riding around in a minivan for the last 2 days, and it's,
Riding around.
God
That's why
damn, it's the
Spencer's
best
our-
decision I've made in a long time.
Spencer's our trip daddy because he's
Call me
driving.
Trip Daddy when I back that van up.
Spencer's been our van driver for our experience into this fucking weird place.
Yeah, dog.
So chronologically, we ended up leaving the Susan B. Anthony murder house after Linda Moulton House
Yeah,
presentation
because
this morning.
fuck John Venter. We weren't going to stay around for him.
Yeah, and honestly, like we're not going to spend any more words on it other than
You need 3 words, and I said them already.
fuck
the
that
name,
guy.
the name, and how blatantly ignorant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I would like to say we literally had no idea that dude was speaking until I landed here.
Yeah,
and
until
he
until
was
we were
texting
out.
us.
Until we were out here.
Yeah, if we had known that this place was paying a dude like that to talk, we probably would have reconsidered what we were doing.
Would have
But
kept my money.
we
found a
had
different field trip. Fuck
yeah,
that guy.
but we had 4 plane tickets and event tickets, and we rented our Airbnb, so we were following through, and we decided to boycott his presentation. Anyway,
We came back
later.
for Dave though. Dave Paulides.
Yeah.
The
So he
poli-
could
the
yell
pol-
at me again.
I was gonna say the politest.
He is not the politest.
not the
unfortunately.
politest.
David
With his
is not
cop
the David, not
mustache,
the
being all
politest.
cop-like.
You know what? His
You're going to be arrested if you take another iPhone photograph.
his
Bigfoot will haunt your ass
his
if you take one more
presentation was
photo.
lackluster.
Oh,
Tell him
coming
about
out-
it, Chance. Tell us
Coming
about
out
it.
strong.
Okay.
Chance is a first-time politest experiencer,
You
so
know,
I'd love to hear your
I
thoughts.
don't have
Yeah.
any strong feelings in
Sounds
one
like you
way
do.
or another about that presentation.
It sounds like you do.
There's nothing that I didn't believe. There was nothing that I was like, no, fuck that. I wasn't for or against any of it. It was just a lot of information put together to really toward no conclusion, or a conclusion of mystery.
Yeah.
But from what I gathered was he put together a handful, 6, 7 missing people's cases, made a couple statements that brought us on like a wild goose chase to like, whoa, like what if being German has something to do with it, or being a physicist, or being a kid by water, or whatever, and just presented a handful of true things and left you going nowhere. And he drew a map. There was a map with a triangle on it.
Yeah.
It's I connected these 3 points on a map.
I think where his points connect, though, is what he was trying to do is like basically maybe give a little preview of each book and then just be like, yeah, go buy my fucking book if you want to actually get it.
Want to know why the Germans are always disappearing.
I think there are some very interesting or strange / unexplained stories that he covers.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was just
totally
saying like my thing was he just like stated this happened, gave a very brief thing, and it just seemed like a teaser for the book, which I get.
I agree. I also, where I have an issue with the way that he presents the information sometimes is that he claims, and he's like very over the top adamant about saying, I'm not presenting any sort of hypothesis. I don't know why this is happening. I'm just putting the information out there. And then in his presentation, he draws these conclusions about, like, he was talking about these 4 cases that happened in Washington of people going missing. And it was literally 4 cases over the course of 40 years of people disappearing, which I'm sure happens way more frequently than that. And then aligns 3 of them and draws a triangle and says there's some sort of weird Washington triangle. It's like, no, dude, 4 people went missing
over the course of like half a century.
It was 40 years. Like one person every decade disappears, and you decide that there's some sort of triangle in Washington, and then imply that maybe it's Bigfoot and UFOs
because
like,
they're near. Because they're
he tries to
separate
separate himself
or something.
He just casts this extremely wide net and then draws comparisons where there just aren't any similarities.
This along the same lines of this, and we talked a little bit about this too, but I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 minutes into his presentation, he said something to the effect of, I will only ever give you facts, never opinions.
And then proceeds to give us tons of opinions and not even information.
And not even that. Like I think the thing that was hardest about it for me was he presents these facts around these stories. And like, if you've listened to our older episodes, we've done multiple episodes on what if you went missing. A lot of them are based on what we have found to be some of the most interesting cases that Paulides has covered. Obviously, we've done some stuff outside of that too. But so I agree with you, Spencer. Like, he has a lot of really interesting stuff about the concept of human beings disappearing and disappearing in strange ways under strange circumstances, or being found in strange manners after they've disappeared, etc. That all good and fine. That's the factual part that he does present. But then, in between stuff, he tells a story of someone who went missing in a location, and his next slide is a picture of Bigfoot, and he goes, there was a Bigfoot sighting in this city, and someone suing because Bigfoot is real.
Dude, I have a direct quote from him. Do you want it?
Yes, please.
So he was talking about a dude who disappeared 40 miles from where another disappearance happened 15 years prior, and was trying to like relate the two. Then
in reality, 40 miles is a pretty long distance.
Agreed.
When a lot of things happen between 40 miles of space.
Right.
Completely.
Then he jumps to telling the story about how there's a woman in California who's suing the California DNR.
Yes.
To make them admit that Bigfoot exists. And then he says, quote, now, I don't know if this has anything to do with the disappearance. I just thought it was an interesting, timely element.
10 years is not timely.
But there was nothing to do with Bigfoot in any of that. And then he just shows a picture of Bigfoot and says, oh, also Bigfoot. I don't know. You draw your own conclusions.
I was surprised.
Exactly.
Yo,
bro, this is
I'm only giving you facts.
I got pretty much like a paraphrase or like a fairly direct quote. After he said the premise is I only will give you facts. He said,
this shit about the best people.
Yeah, he said these are the best people you ever meet. I swear, it's a fact.
It's not how facts work.
And I just turned back and I said, that's not a fact.
Chance turned back and looked at me and Cats and was like,
that's not how that works.
That's not a fact. Yeah. You can't say like these are the best people you ever meet. That's a fact, and say that you're all about facts. Like you can't say that's where I was just like, fam, come on, that's no different than anything.
The Bigfoot thing kind of reminded me of, you remember that scene of Fight Club where Tyler Durden splices a picture of a dick into like a kid's movie or whatever, and
just
he's
a
like,
split second.
Yeah, and he's like, it's just a split second.
It's like you
but
draw your
know
own
it's there,
conclusions. I
but-
don't know.
Yeah. Like I feel like that's kind of what Paulides does.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
He just in his thing, he's like, I don't know, pretty weird that they went missing, and he skips over one PowerPoint slide with Bigfoot in it. He's like, did you see it? Like, ooh, I don't know what it was. Maybe we should just keep talking about disappearances. I don't know what caused them.
Dude, I don't know why I wrote
And
this
that's
down.
what's
but
real. That's what's real as fuck. There are mysterious disappearances all the time, probably at a more extreme rate than we can even fathom. And half of the shit he can be covering could be completely bizarre. But when you're the only reference we have, it's like we're judging so much on like the person presenting it.
Yeah.
When there's so much like
that
I don't know
shouldn't
if I
be the
believe
issue
this.
at all. Yeah.
This is hard to believe, and you're making it harder to believe.
So
like
he kept mentioning boulders and boulder fields and rocks. Does anyone understand?
you have to read a book. I'm sure.
But I've read them and I don't understand. He one of his quote unquote profile points, which are just like 20 totally unrelated things, is that people disappear near boulder fields or near like large rocks.
Which
What
are
in
also
the
things
world-
like found in nature.
Found everywhere, especially in more remote locations where you're more likely to get lost.
Right.
Or
And
near
what
water
possible-
where you're more likely
what
to get
possible
swept
correlation
away or
could there
swept
be?
under.
I think the only correlation may have been and I don't know if it was the same cases, but maybe the ones where people had some like blunt force trauma, like head trauma.
I don't think
that was the
I
one
don't
about
think those were-
Minneapolis,
yeah,
wasn't it?
Like you
those
fell
weren't the
and hit
ones
a
he was
rock,
relating
though?
to that.
Well,
though.
you can get a blunt force.
That's what I said. I
trauma
wasn't sure. That's like the
from
only
falling
reach
standing
I could
up
even
on
make.
his
I don't
Because
know what
those-
else that was
really.
about.
Those ones he was talking about were like the ones that happened in urban settings.
Oh, so
'Cause
like
that's
the
another
one that
of his
happened
profile
in
points.
Minneapolis. That's fucking
Yeah, so he
creepy.
told the story. I can run it down quickly about this guy, Dr. Christopher Robert, who went missing in December of 2015 from Minneapolis, and he was at a work party downtown. Left the work party apparently sober-ish, and then the next morning at about 7:30 was found dead on the freeway, like lying on the freeway from blunt force trauma to the head. There were no witnesses. He hadn't been hit on the roadway, so he was already dead when he ended up on the freeway somehow. And there was no like overpass or anything that he could have fallen from directly overhead. And the only thing that the autopsy showed up was that he had
gotten more drunk.
He had acute alcohol intoxication at the time of death, but according to his coworkers, was not drunk at the time that he left the party.
Which is he got drunker and
But-
got
On the way home?
But I think this
got
is a good example of what we're talking about, right? So that's one of his disappearance stories.
How did that guy wind up in the story?
Another one of
That
his
big-
disappearance stories that he relates and says is part of the same profile is a 2-year-old disappearing from the beach when his dad turns his back. Like that's another story they told us. And these are somehow
There's a line
related?
connecting. Everything is connected, which
Like
is
that's-
like
that's
DJ
a
Name
profile?
continues to remind me. It's like, yes, in some strange way, all of these things are connected if you zoom out and zoom back or whatever.
But
far
when
enough.
he refuses to do any of that connecting,
But look
what's
at
the point of presenting all this
This
information?
is the point.
Yes.
The audience is the point. Because somebody is waiting to hear something. That's like the give and the take, you know? It's like these people are willing to make that jump, dude. It's like bring them there.
The jump to what though? Like I don't even
It's like,
understand
yes,
what that jump
Bigfoot,
would be.
bro. It's fucking
Bigfoot is present in downtown Minneapolis
Dude.
and on the Pacific Coast, and
I'm saying it's like it's half entertainment. It's like entertain me,
But
make me feel fucking like this all makes sense. It's all going somewhere, and it's like, yep.
and that's
So
what I'm
wait,
saying.
is
If it's
this like
if it's going to
wrestling?
be going to be
Yes,
entertainment, do a
it's
better
exactly-
job of entertaining
exactly.
me though.
It's all good. It's just what is it?
The difference though that I think is an extremely important difference, and actually, Name, I think your analogy is really good, except I think your analogy is really good for our show. Like I would say our podcast is more like professional wrestling in that we indulge in this while also being like pretty heavily.
We want to believe. Show me.
We indulge in this world. We like this world. We point out things that we think are more factual or less factual. We talk about them, but we also like we're here to have fun and we're here to like entertain while we do all those things. But we acknowledge that up front. The thing that really is super duper hard for me personally is when that dude goes out there and what's that?
Sorry. Go ahead.
When that dude goes out there and presents what he's saying, he doesn't, no one in there is under the auspices that is like,
he's just getting aroused.
This is fun and entertaining.
Yeah, getting aroused out of you. You know,
in fact, there was a little bit of me. I'll be honest with y'all. There was a little bit of me that felt like a little bit, like icky about the way that he was saying these things to people. Like I almost felt like the way that he tells these stories preys on people's feelings that like it could happen to your significant other. It could happen to your kid.
It's a little fear-mongery.
Even the setting felt a little like church. Like when I was like people, like that was the most similar vibe that I could relate it to. It wasn't like a concert. It wasn't like a spoken word slam. Like when you see people join to fucking take in, to like, you know, to have an experience.
And they were back and forth.
Who's
There's
leading
no
through
participation.
that experience? It wasn't as much like a college lecture about something as much as it was like church. And you know, there's just more things at play and more fucking blurred lines as far as like the relationship between the speaker and the experience and everything. Because people were in there looking to belong, and that's awesome and that's sweet. And that like there's so many social interactions that happen at these things outside of just the presentations.
But I think those authority figures, in my opinion, I think they have a responsibility in some ways
for sure
to be to not make unsubstantiated leaps for people who are looking for answers.
And look at this.
You can't provide unbacked up answers to a room full of people who are looking for answers and feel good about that.
And they had that dude speaking that posted on Facebook the most baseline racist shit.
Right.
Like that you can, like the most unfactual, like simple view of anything, and just blatantly
there
racist.
are no standards and there's no accountability
and this dude
to
is
anything.
speaking at a spot like that where these people are very emotionally susceptible to like share in this experience of like, people don't believe me but you guys do, and like we're together for that reason.
I mean,
it's very exploitative in that way. And when there's a fucking racist in the mix and these dudes are getting hired, I was like a little skeptical walking up to the place. Like, what are these people going to be like? Like, is this a safe situation, or like,
there's a reason the room looks the way it looks too. You know, there's a reason it's mostly older white men
that find their way to, and like at the same time, I was not the only brown person. It was totally chill. I didn't feel at all threatened, but that went through my head.
It's not welcoming.
At all.
Right.
Totally.
Like, I feel like that was kind of the vibe. Like, is this going to be fucking weird? Are we going to get into some sort of altercation?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
what the fuck,
it was like, I was thinking that just because my last experience in the mountains of Colorado was like some grotesquely racist shit. Like, I was like, wow, that's pretty disturbing that you are just that bold about being like completely blatantly racist.
And I think bold, not just on the racist stuff, but like the boldness. I think it takes a lot of boldness for this, like for Dave to go up there and be like, I'm a former detective. Like he builds himself in his presentation as a super authoritative figure, and then proceeds to walk people down this sort of like, I'm only giving you facts. And so you're like, okay, I trust you. You're authoritative. You're only giving me facts. And then, I don't know, someone said that there was a UFO craft over him that night. I'm not saying I know anything, but it happened. And, there was a Bigfoot sighting here. I'm not saying I know anything, but it happened. And you're like, dude, you can't just like seed people with this unfactually based shit mixed with factually based shit, and then just like walk to the back and sell them books about it.
You can, and he does.
You can, and he does.
I was gonna say,
and I guess pretty good money. He had a pretty nice.
And
truck
I guess what I'm trying to say, and part of the reason I'm coming across frustrated, is because I am a little bit. I think it's a little icky in a way.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you could do what he's doing in a better way. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm not sure what it is that he's doing, honestly.
I felt just like confused at the end of the shit. I was like, wait, like this was a keynote speaker. Like this was supposed to bring me somewhere. Just left a bunch of questions raised with nothing more than like, hey, this mystery exists. This mystery exists. This mystery exists. Buy my book. Like,
I just wish you would have done it in a different way, because I think it's cool and interesting. Like, yeah, there's all these weird fucking cases. Some of them have some things that match up.
Right.
But like, he just does it in a fucking gross way, and I don't know. I just didn't like how he did it. I feel like you could do that better if it was like a cooler person.
Sure.
At the end of the day, the dude made some money, brought some people together, and that's, whatever.
Well,
we were there.
And I mean, as much as we were critiquing it, it was still like a good time.
Yeah,
and
prompted conversation, and we
I would
met
like,
here we are.
another cool person.
I would like to say too, like, I think it's pretty important to say that we haven't had a negative experience with an individual since we've been in Colorado. Like, everyone has been mad cool. Everybody at the conference was like, seemed to be really cool and like chatty and fine with each other. Like, everybody was like, cool, like on some cool shit. So I don't want to like paint with broad strokes the audience or the members of like people who attended. Like, that's definitely not my point. I just I enjoyed the community aspect too, like you're saying, Chance. I think the community stuff is cool and important. It's important to like explore this stuff together. I mean, my God, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the community that we built around this thing. Right. I just think it's also important to be responsible with that community.
Yeah, I just get frustrated because I do find the stuff that they're talking about really fascinating.
Yes.
Whether it be cattle mutilation or missing people.
Yes.
Those are both huge unanswered questions.
Yes.
And I get frustrated when people look at it from the perspective that like Linda Moulton Howe or David Paulides is looking at it as if they know something. And only if you're in on the secret can you know something about it.
Right.
And the secret is to buy my 7 books that cost $25 each.
Right.
I think you're doing a disservice to the idea as a whole, the community as a whole, and the people who are genuinely interested in things that they don't understand.
Right.
I think there's a real value in being curious and seeking answers to things that you don't understand. And it does sometimes feel like in these settings, especially, that there are people that step in just to exploit that.
Yes.
And it was hard for me to not feel that way about some of the people we saw speaking today, that you're here to pick up a check to do the same speech that you've been doing at these conferences for 20 years and maybe intentionally mislead some people along the way.
Because it makes for a better show.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Because they're entertainers.
I was gonna say,
Thank you, Spencer. That was fucking great.
It's cool. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Like any community, just kind of like you were saying, like if you expect too much or these people step in to like take advantage of people looking for something, it doesn't change the fact that there's somebody there looking for that thing.
Yeah.
So, but it's just in any community where there's stars of it, like, but whether it's music or comedy or religion or paranormal, it's you can't deify people. People are just telling their story and what they believe, and that's totally fucking cool. Don't think that's any more important than what you believe, and have no problem like absorbing what is useful and rejecting what is useless and adding what is uniquely your own. That's the key to life, It's like be real, be critical about what you consume and believe. Yeah. And as a leader, if you become a star in it, if you become the guy that people are coming to see, absorb that responsibility too. Right, that also you're wielding power because people are trying to do what you're doing.
Yeah, no doubt.
Anything else we want to hit?
Shout out to Crystal Shop.
Shout out to Crystal Shop.
Shout out Vanessa, the homie, and Dank, the dispensary.
If any of you guys are ever in, what's the town we were just in?
Manitou Springs.
Manitou Springs. Hit up Manitou Brewing. Say what up to Brittany for us.
Yeah, we had a great time there. The town.
Give them a quality Yelp review.
People here have been mad friendly, even outside of the conference too. Like everybody in Manitou has been really cool.
Yep.
View is gorgeous.
View's been gorgeous. Yeah, we've been loving the hills.
All right.
Thank y'all for field trip number 2. We'll keep going on field trips because you guys are awesome.
We out of here.
We love y'all. Pieces.
We'll be back next week with another episode of the What If Podcast. Learn more at www.whatifpodcast.com.